There's this lapping of waves and no speech as you sail. A couple of hours before you see the coast and the settlement of Adelega, where you, Ragnar, had gone with Feidhelm some time ago to ensure that they paid their tithe. It's probably the first settlement that you would see. But in the intervening sort of like time, you've like strapped their ship, the Reaver ship that attacked you last time, to your own, and you're bringing it home with you. There's a sort of hush across the ship. Karl Feidhelm has been covered with a blanket so that he and his eyes have been closed. Orm Torgnaga, who is the captain of the ship that you encountered, he's been bound and badly beaten. He's like sitting in one of the corners of the ship, and he's watching the quietness, and you can see him like trying to piece together what exactly happened. And you can see that people keep walking past Feidhelm's body and like looking at it, and then he gets this smile on his face. He was important, eh?
Is that directed at Ragnar?
Anyone in the vicinity.
I think Ragnar would have been watching as they go by Adelega, and his mind is on that night, that fateful night where he fought a rival, Skulfin, the night he won the name Fellhand, and it was in large part to do with Feidhelm's his words. And he thinks of many of those words as they go by. Ragnar doesn't really have much love for anyone, or much liking for that matter, but he respected Feidhelm and liked him in the sense that he treated Ragnar with respect. And so, yes, he was important. And the words bristle upon the back of his neck as he turns and he looks at Orm with dark eyes. And he says, "You are lucky. You understand."
It looks like this fucker got unlucky. We were headed home. Didn't even want to fight you. He chased us. Got what he deserved. You look for trouble, you expect to die.
And where in the north is home for you?
Yeah. Yep. Won't be telling you that. Not an oathbreaker like you.
The day is still early. By the time this voyage is over, we will know everything you know.
I believe that you think that.
Ragnar's going to stab him in the leg.
He'll like look down and wince in pain and look back up at you and spit in your face.
Ragnar just lets the spit trickle into the grooves of the brand upon his forehead, and he wipes it away, headbutts the man, and he turns and he looks, and I think he'll probably see Sigverka. Would you do the honors in breaking this man? I have business with our crew.
Sigvarka will walk across, probably give you a pat in the back on the way by, and she kind of turn around to look. He's kneeling down, face close, nose touching with this man, just making eye contact, and you can see the lines of a smile start to creep across his face. Well, he doesn't make any move to do anything just yet.
You can see as you approach the coast, and you can see Adlega ahead. You notice that the boats are all there, none of them out fishing. You can see that there's nobody there at the docks. And as you kind of like look closer, you would see that the buildings are, there's no one walking around. It looks like some of those buildings have been on fire. At like a command, the ship will turn to get a better look, and you'll see that it has been burned, or like a great many of the buildings have been burned here in Idalega. You don't see anyone walking around.
Ragnar remembers that their actions at this place had caused a rift between the alliance they'd made with the Skolfin, and draws to the conclusion he's actually gonna go and he's gonna find Avisla wherever she is and whatever she's doing.
She is seated next to Feidhelm's body, keeping watch over it.
You witch.
So you call me.
As I understand it, you presided over the handing over of power from one Karl to the next. I ask you, what position are we in now?
There must be a thing. A new Karl must be chosen. More than likely, Brynjolf's son. The vote was split between him and Feidhelm, until I bought your freedom.
Ragnar nods. Look to the shoreline. Do you think there'll be much left of Invik when we arrive? Will Brynjolf's son, still draw breath to take this great honor? And he smirks.
He is not here. Were you paying better attention, you'd have known that he'd have gone north with his father.
Ragnar spits.
Arnvid was in Ingvik, keeping things in order, in Feidhelm's absence.
I think, like many of us, is kind of at a loss as to what to do. Ragnar looks to the horizon where they're sailing and he says, we better focus on arriving at our destination. Be no good if we don't even make it.
Then we will leave the village to burn.
Are you asking me?
So it actually looks burnt out, like it was on fire some time ago, but there's no longer actually any fires or anything there.
Okay. You seem to have assumed that you are in charge now.
I'm merely asking what the fuck we're supposed to do. None of us saw this coming. Everything's gone to fucking shit.
I am well aware of that.
Where's that so-called house, Karl? Seems to me I'm not the only oathbreaker upon this ship now.
Choose your words carefully, Ragnar. If you insult Sigrid while she grieves, you might find that you are short a hand.
She fights like she did when we were attacked. I'll have no issue. And he just walks to the prow of the ship. And he's going to be keeping a specific eye on the pirate members of the crew, Lloyd.
Yeah, you would see them, like Hauk had been killed, the singer, in the battle somewhere in the Spirit, and he fell. So they're kind of doing their own thing. Like they're obviously like measuring each other up and like seeing who is going to step forward and like take control of their element of the crew. So currently they're disorganized.
Yeah, that's what he's going to spend his time doing, just keeping his ear to the ground and listening out, because the second anything begins, he wants to be ready. So that's what he'll do.
You can see some bodies on the shore of Edelega as you kind of pass a little bit closer to it. You can see that most of the buildings have been burnt. And it looks like everything is gone. Like they've taken every scrap of cloth, every single grain that they could find, every tool, every shred of metal. Like there's nothing left except for the husks of the houses, it looks like. And the bodies, which are unburied and unburned.
So Sigrid would be sitting on a bench along with another man, though she's standing now as she looks on this burnt out village. She sees the bodies strewn across the ground, just left carelessly, untended, no honor to it at all. The corner of her eye, she sees Ragnar speaking to the witch. She can't help it, but a bitter taste comes in her mouth and she holds back the urge to spit. Whatever her personal feelings of the witch, she saw her try to keep the Karl alive, and that is something of merit. So her personal feelings she sets aside, though her brow kind of knits as she sees Ragnar lean in close. She's never trusted that man. She trusts him less now because Feidhelm, whatever his mortal shortcomings, kept him in line and in tow. That does not do much to settle her. There's a creak on the ship as she shifts a bit and brings her eyes back to the burnt out husks of houses. She says to no one in particular, "It's not right that they left them lying there. We should take care of them. It's what we would want others to do for us." And she just kind of lets that kind of just drift out across the crew.
There's a few of the crew from Ingvik who would like agree and vocalize similar feelings that the dead shouldn't be left to rot.
So I don't know who's manning the till. Is it a tiller on a Viking ship?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whichever man is there, Sigrid would kind of whistle in a way that I cannot whistle. And she would call him by name and say, "Bring the ship in. We will tend to the dead." And that's what she would want to have happen unless she's challenged in any fashion.
He looks around and then he knows that you're a Huskarl of the Jarl, and so therefore you're probably the ranking person. He looks around at some of the others and then shrugs and turns the ship. and it's not long before you can pull up to some of the docks at Edelega.
So one of the things Sigrid would do is she would not want all men to be helping to tend to the dead. She would maybe mark off a few and tell them to keep sharp and be ready. Though it looks like this was raided long past, does not mean that threats still aren't around. And she would set herself as one of those keeping a weathered eye. And probably Vagnar as well, because he is grudgingly very good at what he does. And maybe she would approach him and say, Vagnar, we have not always seen eye to eye. Now is not time for our petty differences. We have lost the great Karl, a friend to us both. Might you slip into the trees and see if there's a threat about? And it's more of an asking than a telling. That would be the tone that Vagnar would hear.
Vagnar looks at Sigrid directly in the eyes and says, not so great now he's lying on the deck, House Karl. But I shall do as you suggest. Your words have merit. And just to confirm, you want me to go up to scout? Just run that by me again.
Scout, yeah.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, Vagnar is going to go ahead and do so.
Sure. So you can like make your way through the little village and have a look around. You'll see pretty quickly that like if you remember, there was like a little sort of wall section at the top of a hill where you went to speak with their elderman. That's been totally destroyed. The longhouse burnt to the ground. Nothing left there on top of the hill. Except you do notice something there, like some struts of wood, and between them is hanging a body.
I think Vagnar actually smiles a little to himself as he walks maybe past or through the ruins of the longhouse, remembering the heated discussion that had been had about taking weapons into the place. Now he walks in the ruins of this place, his hand resting upon his war axe. And then he spots that body and he freezes. And then he's going to sort of circle it as he draws closer, keeping his eyes sharp and alert.
So you can see this like grim construction. There's like these pieces of wood that have been hammered into the ground and sort of like a stockade. And there's a man hanging there, like with his arms to the side. He's like tied there, but also you can see that his back has been opened and the skin stretched, and he hangs from that skin as well. As you like circle around it, you can see that the ribs have been like cracked out to make this mockery of wings. This is the blood eagle, something they do to the worst, or it's rather the worst kind of punishment, cruel.
Is there something over the face, like in the image?
Yes. Yep, there's a sack over the face.
Is anyone else with Vagnar, or is he alone?
I think you were sent to scout, so you're probably still on your own.
Sure. Would Vagnar have ever seen this before, Lloyd?
I don't know if you'd have seen it before. You would definitely have heard of it. It's something that like really isn't common in the south, but like the Iskolfin would probably do it more regularly. It's like an old sort of capital punishment for like traitors or like treason and things like that, you know, and also for liars and oathbreakers.
Vagnar thinks he has an idea who that might be, but regardless, he hops up onto the side of one of those wooden slat things and taking his blade. No, actually, he doesn't touch it. He just removes the thing covering its face.
Yeah, you recognize the face. It's the elderman who you had spoken to before, who had like called out to Uthil's people for protection when the old Karl Ingvar wasn't able to protect him anymore. But you had come and chased those servants of Jarl Uthil away, and this seemingly is the payment. There's also like at the base of it, like these rocks or whatever, and one of them is carved a rune. I don't know if you would know what the rune means, but it's kind of like a sideways triangle.
Yeah, he looks at the rune with a blank expression. His first instinct is just to leave it, the body, leave no sign that we've been here. But he thinks maybe some use can be had if we know what this rune means. So he begins to traipse back to the ship, and he finds Feidhelm. Come with me.
I would stay with the Karl.
There are runes. Things that might give us insight as to what truly happened here.
Then you may draw it for me.
He draws very close to you. Come with me now.
I do not take orders from you.
He makes a motion almost to grab you. It's violent and it's quick. But he stops, as if he's remembering something. And then he spits on the ground. And he's going to go find something to copy this on, probably with charcoal from all of the burnt wood around.
Yep.
So
you can scroll it. It's just like a sideways triangle, almost like a greater than symbol. It's luckily not a complicated one. And you, Feidhelm, know that this is Kenaz. It's a rune that means torch. It can mean fire. It can mean burned. A number of things.
The alderman of this place, he hangs. His back flayed, his ribs opened.
Barbaric.
It is the way of those who dwell in the north. At least for some.
The rune, it marks the village. It is fire. It is burnt.
Ragnar looks to the wreck and then back to Feidhelm. Well, we pissing know that, don't we?
You asked what it meant.
Ragnar's going to look to see what progress has been made with the bodies.
Yeah, it's slow going. They've been stripped of absolutely everything and left naked. Like those who have come into the village to bury them will find nothing. Like literally every possible thing has been taken that hasn't been destroyed. So like every scrap of food, of cloth, of metal, everything is gone and taken. And anything they didn't take has been burnt or destroyed. Yeah, the bodies have been left out here naked, and the burial process is slow. You're gonna have to dig a really big hole for like a mass grave sort of thing. You think hours?
And what time of day is it?
It's coming into evening.
So I think that Sigrid would not even have noticed that Ragnar had returned and went back on the ship because she was busy. When she sees that there's no threat, she probably sets her axe to the side and actually starts helping to dig, knowing that they'll probably lose the light before they're done. But the gods will be happier for it, as and they need good fortune on their side right now. So yeah, she would just bend her back to do the best to get to these people. But does it look like there's fighting men among the dead?
Like 2 or 3 of the maybe like 30 or 40 who are dead.
She would probably do her best to make sure that she would go on the ship, and they probably wouldn't be the best weapons, but any loose or spare weapons she would put to those men. Maybe bend the blades in a sign of reverence for them fighting so bravely against probably was overwhelming odds. So she would want to make sure that they get a seat in the hall.
When you mentioned what had happened to the man, Wagner, you would hear Orm from the back of the ship.
Right, that's enough from you, says Scom. He's going to stand up and take his scaling knife and go over to the man, rip down his breeches and put the cold steel to his balls and say, how many ships does Uthil have under his command?
He snarls. And he's like thinking about it. Fuck you.
I'll cut off both of his balls and then I'll throw them overboard. And then I'll ring the blade up to his manhood.
I reckon.
How many times? How many ships?
I reckon he's like squealing, and I'm going to see if he passes out or not. He's made of stern stuff. He's now screaming in agony, and you can see he's like sweating as the blood like pools very quickly in the bottom of the ship. Fuck you!
I can send you to Odin with a blade in your hand and your cock still on your body. Or you can die screaming, pig spawn.
Maybe you associate with oathbreakers. Not me.
Is that your final answer?
Fuck you.
I'll cut off his manhood and haul him up and throw him overboard weaponless.
Yeah, he'll like splash into the water, screaming.
I wipe his blood off my hands while I look over the shore and see if there are any buildings that could still be burnt. And if there are, go to Sigrid and tell her we should just pile the bodies in there and give them a pyre. Digging is useless, it'll exhaust us, and the men are already frayed and will argue against each other. Could even be to our detriment to do this. We should make a sail for south down the coast and reach a friendly port. We've come too far north to be at Edelinga if we want to get to Ingvik.
Well, the idea, I think, initially was, or Feidhelm had said, was to go to Bjorn's home, to the castle, is what he had said initially. But yeah.
Okay. In that case, we can't tow a ship all the way up there. We'll be like too slow and heavy, and we'll be fat pickings for Uthil or any of his other cronies up there, especially with the men that we would have lost from that foray just this morning. So we should take the better ship and scuttle the lesser one so that it can't be used against us. He would offer to Sigrid. He knows he's a peon, though, and probably won't be listened to, but he said his piece, which was always Feidhelm's way. He'd hear everyone speak before making his own decision. And even though there's no leader here, there's still some kind of like authoritative audience. So he offers that to them while he cleans Orm's blood off his hands and like watches the bubbles cease in the cold chop. And we'll like move to follow whichever order comes from any of the like Sigverka, Hvesla, Sigrid, or Wagner.
So Sigrid would listen to Skam. She doesn't like look at him. She's just watching as the men work. But when he finishes, she just nods her head. She realizes the work is going slow and there's definitely wisdom to his counsel. So she would turn to him and say, "Put the dead on the other ship. We'll burn that." Right? Because that would be something else they would do, right, Lloyd? We could
if we're going to burn that
ship.
ship. We
That
should
would actually
burn
be a-
Feidhelm with his enemies. We should burn Feidhelm there. It's a Jarl's funeral to burn him on a long ship.
Yeah,
And
for
we
sure.
Yeah. That's what
You
we're
heard
gonna do.
he says to the pirates, and he'll like hang out with them and like an angry dad kind of huff and puff over their shoulders and just like fucking beg one of them to not comply with his one good eye.
Yeah, they set to work pulling the dead and like throwing them over the edge of the other ship. There's grumbling, though no one like raises a hand or anything like that. Like at the lack of a leader and like a lack of cohesion and the confusion as to who the fuck is actually in charge of this crew now. Their oaths were the Feidhelm, and now Feidhelm is not here. You could sense that, all of you, that this pirate crew were like considering what the hell to do now. But they'll drag the dead onto the ship, and if told to, they'll drag Feidhelm on there as well.
I'm going to go up now. If I see like Wagner returning and speaking with Feisler after we've piled those bodies, I want to go and have a quick word to them. I'll probably whisper quietly in their ear, just so it's within their hearing, that it was me who murdered Hawk, and I did it to save our lives. Because right now he'd be conspiring to do what I'm about to tell you we should do. We should ambush and slaughter those pirates now. 10, 12, 15 rats aren't going to help us against Uthil Kohlbrandr. They're more of an enemy than a help. And with the company of Ogvi on the way, what need have we? What need have we for them now? Assuming we have enough of Ingvik to pilot this ship with ourselves as well.
Wagner has his head bowed as he listens to this, and he looks up at Scum. His mind goes back to all of the shit-eating grins, all of the disrespectful behavior. He would not be sorry to see them go. And this man's words have merit once again.
Whatever we do from here must be united, he says, even though we have no Karl and cannot choose one till a thing. We have a representative of the Jarl here, and he'll point across to Sigrid, who's like amongst the people doing the work rather than standing there command. Well, she did stand there in command, but she's also has her sleeves rolled up. That's another story, that she has sleeves. But anyway, he'd say she's most authority, legitimate that we have here. We should all at least appear united, even if we are not, for the sake of the crew who yet live and all of us who wish to see Feidhelm's plan come to fruition.
Let us burn the car and gut these fools before we jump to any rash conclusions or action in that regard.
To do that, we'll need him, and he points across to Sigverka. He's the oldest and the wisest.
He has many talents. His voice and his arms. Go speak with him. We shall convene when it is dark.
Scum will nod and traipse away like the wolf he is towards Sigverka, and in a private moment whisper to him this conspiracy of murder. And once I do so, I'll just like go off to follow the rest of Sigrid's commands, piling and burning the dead and making the ship ready for Feidhelm's pyre. I think inwardly, deep down, Scom, in like some like forgotten soft part of him, would be lamenting that Feidhelm's wife won't be able to farewell him, though the idea of a burning long ship is fitting enough, and to have like other shield brothers and sisters see him off and like inwardly swear to go and do his quest, should see him carried to whatever god house he wishes. So that would be on his mind as he works and contemplates the murder of those pirates.
I think as they're making these preparations, preparing that ship, for example, Vagnar's going to look over the men whilst they work. He says, quite loudly, "The Karl is dead. And he has left to the Hall of Odin. He leaves behind certain promises that a reward. Once our respects are given this evening, you will be receiving yours. Get to it, and you will get what is coming to you."
There's like a murmur among them. You'll see like one or two of them like furrow their brow in confusion, like, why would you pay us? Our oath was not to you. But some of them like seem pleased about it. They're like, finally, some fucking money. And there's, you can see that there's confusion among their ranks.
Hearing this and maybe catching his line of thinking, Scom will approach Vagnar a bit later and say, we should give them some of the money and maybe some of the reserves of ale. It'll make them lax and easy for the killing.
Have it seen to.
He nods and traipses away like a wolf. And we'll probably like sing an old song maybe that he heard Sigverka singing while he like hands the requisite coin out to these low folk.
So they're like
roll
sitting
a barrel down the gangway to Karl Feidhelm as he like taps it and like hands out drinks. And to the dead, the glorious dead, and those of us who soon will be dead. He'll say with his hand on his heart and shake of his head.
Yeah, you'll see a bunch of them like lament the fact that Hauk is not here to sing the songs and to send people off to their proper farewell. Can you give me an insight?
Essential worries, brothers, Scom would say. But Sigverka here knows the god Mead. He is a singer of poems. Worry not. And he'll look to Sigverka, hopefully, eagerly waiting his singing voice.
Yeah, Sigverka will take up a drink of his own and raise it in front of all these men. And he'll start singing an old song that they probably know better, more of a Reaver song, A Drink to the Dead.
Yeah, they'll sing along, and you'll see many of them like getting into it and seemingly having a good time.
So just quickly, so I got the time frame square. So we got everybody on the ship. We set up the pyre for Feidhelm, and so the ship is burning, and now we're handing out this coin as people are like singing song to.
I don't think that you've done the funeral yet. I feel like that's a bigger deal.
Okay,
I think
that's after. Okay, I just been trying to get the time frame right. So Sigrid is totally oblivious to this plan. She hasn't heard anything of it. She thinks all is dandy. And she would probably cock an eyebrow when she sees Sigverka hanging out the coin. So she would take a moment when he's alone so that the pirates or that portion of the crew can't hear. And she would say, "Great Wanderer, why do you hand out the coin? Was this a decision that you made? Does not seem proper." And she's just, because this is not something she would normally see at a funeral. Usually riches would be sent out on the ship with the Karl or the Jarl, not handed to the men. I was not aware that was what the Karl had wished. Had he mentioned it to you? And she knows she was too far away from him in the battle on the ship, so maybe he murmured something to his Visla or to Sigverka. So that's what he's thinking. So she's just asking him this.
It's a decision that has been made upon other decisions. See how happy they are.
She would nod and she'd say, true, their oath was not to any of us. Giving them coin will keep them happy. So she would just nod approval, but she still has that doubt in the back of her mind. She was always challenging Feidhelm, but it was always with the purpose of making him a stronger and better leader. And now she feels like she has this void. And that has she's off balance, I would guess. So she would just she's going to say something to you, Sigverka, but she stops and she just smiles, a half smile at you and nods, and just walks off to stand by the witch.
Wisla has been preparing Feidhelm's body, cleaning it and putting the herbs on it and writing the runes on it. And she has ceased her work and seems to be trying to decide if it's finished when you approach Sigrid. And she'll stand and whisper in your ear, "Have your weapon ready."
She would probably have that confused look that would pass quickly over her face. And then she would look around for a threat that she doesn't see. She only sees the Karl's crew. What are you talking about, witch?
There will be more blood spilled. It will not be any of Ingvik.
Why do you speak in riddles? What do you mean? What treachery do you speak of? And she would, not, without even knowing, her eyes scan the crowd and she's looking for Vagnar. It's like an unconscious thing. But she can't see him. She can't find him. And she brings her eyes back to Wisla and she forces herself to look at this witch and get uncomfortably close. One of the things that people would notice is that Sigrid has never touched Wisla in this whole journey. And she would get close and say, "Listen to me, witch. I don't trust you. But I saw what you did with the Karl. You tried to save him with your magics. Be square with me now. What are you talking about?"
The pirates, they will kill them. We cannot risk a mutiny.
So they are set on this then.
Aye.
And whose idea was it? Again, in the back of her mind, it's saying Vagnar.
A young sailor of Ingvik.
And that totally throws her for a loop. She's like, "It's not Vagnar?"
No, although he was most taken with the idea.
And what do you think? Do you think we cannot trust them? That we should butcher these men?
No, I do not think we should, but I will not put my life in danger for their sake.
Whatever they are, I trust these other men more than I trust these pirates. I will not lose their loyalty. We have lost our Karl. We are without a leader. and she wouldn't say anything more to you, but she would just nod. She looks down at the Karl. She'll kneel down next to him. You would see her take a small just leather pouch, and she would tuck it into the belt of Feidhelm. She would lean down and kiss his forehead and then whisper something into his ear before she rises. As she walks by you, she goes, "I will be ready."
So obviously you'll go through the process, I guess, of like stacking up the burnable materials you have onto the ship with the bodies and Feidhelm.
Yes. She'll put the bodies from the town on the sides and put Feidhelm in the center with a weapon in his hand. And part of her wants to change her mind and to take him back to Ingvik, to his wife and his child. But she knows they have another task to complete. The body would smell, and this is a fitting funeral for him.
As you're preparing all this, Sigverker is going to walk over because the Karl made him a promise of something, and he wishes to claim it before he's set to pyre. But he'll wait until you're. He'll stand kind of back reverently and wait for you.
What is it you wish, Sigverka?
I was promised for my oath a finger from the Karl's weapon hand, so that I may add it to my cloak.
Vislik scans your cloak, looking at all the bones there, and then looks over to Feidhelm. And there's just the tiniest quirk at the corner of her mouth. He often made promises to people for things that they truly wished. You may take what you desire.
Sigverker brings out a small pouch from around his neck and a sharp blade, and carefully takes the middle finger from the weapon hand just below the knuckle. He'll bind it up afterwards and then open the pouch, placing the finger inside, a little bit of dirt falling out from the pouch, and he'll press it in, closing it up and tightening it and putting it back around his neck. And with a nod to Wisla, he'll stand back and watch her continue.
As Sigverker is on the ship and he's like knelt down over the Karl's body, and he's like slicing at the finger. Can Scum and Wagner make me a perception check?
$21.
$21.
So the two of you would notice then, like, I guess you're like looking maybe more than the rest towards the pirates, and you would see one of them like nod his head, and he would like look briefly that Sigverker is not on the shore, he's on the ship with the witch, and he would like nod and they would draw weapons and run at you.
We are betrayed, I'll yell, seeing this. Kill them all!
Roll initiative.
Gladly.
Fuck.
You were so over the top, Wagner. You were like, you'll get what's due.
I know. I was like, what are you doing?
Like, we're going to kill you.
Peach.
Definitely didn't do that at all. I was letting them know that we were valuing their service.
Right. Roll initiative. We're going to take a quick break there because I really need to use the little girls' room. And then we will return and get this mutiny brutality underway.
Kind of feel like I dropped the ball there.
I don't know about drawing the ball. It was just there was lots of like it wasn't just the fact that the way you spoke. There was lots of like you guys whispering to each other and like then you paid them, which was like you never paid them. You know, you haven't so far. And it was just, I mean, and also like their dude has been killed and all this other stuff. So I think there's like lots of reasons for them to be suspicious. And then when the suspicious behavior, like they were waiting for a chance anyway, you know, same way you were.
Chex makes a good point. Orm was the one that dropped the ball. Yeah.
Well, he did have a little bit of help.
How many? I can't even remember how many there are of them.
There's like 15, 16 of them.
And us.
Less.
But we're
I think
better.
you have PCs. You have 5 player characters. Just check.
Kval and Gorm.
Who, against all odds, are still alive.
They've made it, man.
Yeah, I love them.
So,
Maybe
so I
they're
think
gonna
one of
die.
the things Sigrid would be really close, knowing what was planned. Sigrid would be close to Havisla because now with Feidhelm gone, she would want to protect the witch because of her magic.
So if Visla's on the boat, would you be on the boat with me and Sigverker, or are you on the shore
Yeah,
watching?
especially where you're still preparing Feidhelm.
Three of you are on the boat.
Oh god.
I mean, that makes the most sense that they would wait until you were split to strike.
Yeah. Yeah, it just sucks to lose another PC. Maybe two.
We shall see.
But yeah, like they know to be scared of Sigverker, so they were kind of waiting for him to go away somewhere. So they were like waiting for him to be like separate to the rest of you. So we'll see. So I don't know. Is Nico back yet? Not yet. I do like the paranoia and the fear. It's very, very good.
Oh, I love it. Just gutted we don't get to have our own red funeral.
Yeah.
I'm pre-rolling my moves, mate, for the first round. Because I have I know what I'm going to do anyway.
Okay, so you're all back. So yeah, there's like a movement that happens, and they like pull weapons and begin like running forward. Some of them like run towards this sort of little gangway from the ship to like get between. While most of them rush towards where most of your crew is and where Wagner and Scum are. But Wagner, you're first.
Wagner sees this eruption of movement as mutiny blossoms on board the ship. And he basically grabs one of the people that's on his side by the scruff and basically pushes them, starts pushing their men towards them. And in doing so is able, or at least hopefully able, to disappear into the crowd with a 25 on the stealth.
Okay.
Which he will do with his cunning action. And he's going to locate someone who he considers to be a leader of their numbers.
So this is the thing, they don't have one anymore. It would have been Hauk, but since...
The one who nodded. The one you saw nod.
Sure, yeah. So that would be Laufnar.
And can I get to him?
So they haven't gotten to you yet. I don't think that you could like stealth and then attack because they're not in among you yet, if you know what I mean.
Okay, it's just a cunning action. It's my bonus action to do. So
sure,
that's fair enough. If not,
I mean you can run towards him, like, but you know they haven't like hit you yet, if that makes sense.
Okay, in that case, then he's going to vanish into the chaos, and I guess that'll be his turn then.
Sure, no problem. Sigrid, you see like the pirates like stand and begin rushing forwards. You see, maybe you don't even see Wagner among like your own people. You can see Scum there with like some of the people from Invik, like most of them looking very confused and worried as they like desperately grab for weapons.
So Sigrid would quickly pull her shield on and pull the axe, her war axe, out of its the loop, and she would shepherd near Havisla, saying over her shoulder, "Do not move from me." And she would hold an action, is what she's doing.
Okay, I disconnected there for a second, so I only heard you say you'll hold an action, which, I mean, is enough.
Okay, so Shield pulled her axe out, standing by Havisla, saying, "Stay by me."
Okay. No problem. So you get ready aboard the ship. Guthrum, one of the bigger of the pirates, he's got like this mohawk haircut, and he's got like his hand axe in one hand. He just like picks up this bit of burnt wood in the other, and like starts rushing forward towards the crowd. He's going to try and strike at you, Scum, with both weapons. Okay, so he'll hit with the first, he'll miss with the second. He'll take 8 slashing. And I'll need you to make me a con save, please.
13, an unlucky Viking number.
Yeah, very unlucky. So he like runs up and he like shoves the sort of stick in your face so that you like turn back, and then when he's like slashes with the axe across your face, he's gonna like cut into your forehead. You're gonna be blinded until you take an action to succeed a grit check and like move the blood out of your face. As he like runs up and slashes at your forehead, and that's gonna be his turn. Nor he's gonna run to like the bridge of the that connects the ship to the ground, and he'll like pull one of the shields from the side of the ship and like strap it on, and he'll take the dodge action and stand there on the gangway. Sigverka, your turn.
So Sigverker's still standing. He's still holding the pouch of the bone, finger bone, and he'd begun to recite the cattle die, kinsmen die, you yourself die. One thing now never dies. And then he hears the commotion behind him, and through gritty teeth, he finishes the frame of a dead man's deeds, and he's going to spend his turn letting the red rage overtake him.
Perfect. Yep, interrupting that ritual. It's bad times. Laufnar is this red-headed man. He's got like this short-cropped red beard. He's got a knife in each hand, and he like looks at the crowd, and you can see him like scanning for you, Wagner, though he doesn't find you. He's going to rush forward and try and shank Scum in the side of the head while he's wiping blood from his face. And will do so. He'll miss the first strike. Scum, I don't know if you have a shield. I don't think you do. You'll like duck under the first one like reflexively, but the second one is going to hit with a natural 20 of a knife. Thankfully, it's not a big weapon. Oh, I'll take 12 piercing. And I'll need from you a D12 and a D20.
A 12 on the D12 and a 10 on the D20.
That's your head, which is what I said, which is convenient. You got a 12?
Yep.
Okay, can you roll me a percentile?
$29.
Okay, so he like slashes with his knife across your eyes. Luckily, he like actually misses the meat of your eye, your good eye, but he like nicks at your eyelid and the bridge of your nose. There's like agonizing pain, but you need to make a con save now for me, please.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. 21.
Okay. So then you're okay for now. But you will need healing after this, so there's potential that you might get an infection and die. As he like slashes deep into your eyelid and like into the eye itself, though the eye is still working for now. That was Laufnar. Ethelwolf, another one of these who has like a tattoo down half of his face. He's going to rush over and like push his way into the crowd and search for Wagner. doesn't find him. He's like searching around, calling out, "Coward!" And he will strike at Scum. Another crit. Lord. 10 piercing.
Cool. I'm bloody. Sigrid and Wagner, if you want to help me. Be good.
And I'll need, same again, a d12 and a d20.
3 on the d12 and a fucking 16 on the d20.
Not good. Okay. So his like little short sayax is going to go right through your thigh. It seems to like sever some sort of vein. There's like heavy bleeding from it. I need you to make a con save.
14.
Oy. You are stunned until the end of your next turn. You're basically bleeding out at this stage. There's like blood pouring from that wound, so you'll need to make a con save each turn, or bad news. So yeah, all these dudes run up. One of them like slashes at your face, and then another at your eyes, and then this one shanks you like in the thigh. All while Wagner hides cowardly in the crowd. That was at the wolf. It's your turn, Scum.
Yeah, I failed the con save and do nothing.
Okay. You take a -2. Oh my god, this is so brutal. Fuck, man. So for a -2 penalty to strength, dex, and con. When any of those characteristics reach 0, you fall unconscious.
So I lose the 2 to con net right now, which means my max. No, max goes down. Okay. Yeah. That's not good.
Muted. That was Scum. Snorri rushes over to where Nor is. He grabs a shield from the side of the ship and stands next to him and takes the dodge action to keep those people on the ship. Though he faces the other direction, so no one's going to rush up behind. Havisla.
Havisla shouts at Sigrid, "Go! Help them!" And she's gonna stay on the ship and prepare an action. I'm thinking her spear is probably on. No, she would have brought it. She would have brought it because she's highly suspect of these pirates. So she'll prepare an action that if someone comes onto the ship with her, that she will attack them with the spear.
Okay. Back to the top, Wagner. There's 3 of these goons on Scum. You see he's bleeding heavily from the leg.
Yeah, he's going to lunge straight away with a sneak attack with a 22. Excellent. He will take 24 points of damage as Wagner explodes from the ranks and just plunges the war axe into the man's back.
Which one? Does it matter to you? You said Laufner last time, right?
I guess so. Like, if there's 3 of them. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that is not. Yes, it is enough to bloody him. So can you give me a d10, please?
D10 coming up. 8.
8. Okay, so I think that means no reactions for him. Okay.
And my bonus to go back into the crowd.
Yes, sure. Leaving Scum to die.
Okay. That's a good point.
Hey man, do what you want to do.
No, I'll stand my ground. I'm an outlaw. I'm supposed to strike for the shadows.
Then do it. I'm just saying.
Don't let the game master bait you, Rob.
It is baiting. That's what it is. I will stand my ground. However.
Okay. Sigrid.
Sigrid hears Havisla's words and she looks at her and she probably has that moment of doubt, which she never has in a fight. But her ability, her faith in her ability is shaken with the loss of Feidhelm, who she has been protecting this whole journey. And then she nods, and she'll quickly move the war axe into her hand that holds the shield, and she'll start running to the gangway. And as she does so, she'll pull a hatchet. And you said Nori and Snorri. That's
Nor and Snorri.
Nor. Oh no, I added the Nor and Snorri are blocking the way, right? So
Yes.
she's gonna whip the hatchet at one of them.
It'll be with disadvantage because they took dodge actions.
All right, perfect. So I will take my second roll, or do you want me to roll again, Lord? I'll roll again.
Sure.
I pre-rolled. So that would be a 14 with disadvantage.
Okay, that won't hit. It'll thunk into the rim of the shield as he stands there waiting.
Okay. And if you'll let me, I'll draw another
Sure.
hatchet. I have 2, and I'll whip it again with disadvantage. And that will miss as well. It thunks against the shield. Maybe this one hits a little bit harder and it sticks into the wood. She would curse under her breath as she switches the axe back to her hand. And what I'd like to do is kind of plan my moving forward with Sigverker so that I could be within
Sure.
like almost like mini shield wall with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he calls out to you like this scathing insult about how you're unable to protect Karl Feidhelm. And it's Guthrum's turn. Guthrum is in the crowd. He's the one who attacked Scum. He will see you, Wagner, and think you're a better kill, and it's going to strike at you twice. You did stand there, yeah? Making sure.
Yes, AC 18.
Okay. FMD. Okay. So he'll hit once and he'll crit once. Jesus Christ. Okay. So you'll take 6 for the first and 9 for the second, and you need those crit dice, a D12 and a D20.
Am I rolling?
Yes, please.
D12, did you say?
D12 and a D20.
D12 is a 3.
Okay.
D20 is a 12.
Okay, so he like inverts the grip on his knife and just like hacks it down into your leg, like just behind your kneecap, and you can like feel the blade sink in between your knee and the rest of your leg. I need you to make a con save.
Dirty 20.
Okay, so you are going to. Jesus. Okay. You're going to spend. Can you roll me D4? It's a complicated one.
1.
Okay. So you'll spend a round gripping your knee in agony as you fall prone. For the duration of the battle, you'll be at disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws due to severe pain. Your speed is reduced by 10. And a -2 to your modifier to AC. Only magical healing can restore the kneecap's function. That's bad. That's a 12. That needs work. I'll think about that afterwards because it's very heavy for a 12. He like shoves that knife between the knee and the rest of your leg and like pulls it out, and you like scream in agony as the knife is like pulled out and blood sprays. That was Guthrum. Nor is standing on the gangway. He will take the dodge action. Sigverker, your turn.
So as the red mist came down and Sigverker turned, and it was Nor that he saw, as this mist descends upon him, Nor turns into this snarling shadow beast of tooth and claw, blood dripping from its maw, and it's taunting him. He's going to charge towards it with the knife that he used to cut off Feidhelm's finger, and he's going to hopefully do some damage. It was a 25 and 26 with disadvantage.
Those both hit.
It's 15 piercing damage all up because that little thing was my chooser of the slain.
Okay. Total for the 2 strikes?
Yes. It was 7 and 8 was the damage respectively.
Okay. Still standing, though he's been bloodied. Sigverker. Lofnar is going to capitalize on your... oh, wait, hang on. And reactions. Okay, he's still alive, just barely. So Lofnar, who's like bleeding heavily, you've like stuck him through with your War Axe. Wagner, and you can see he's like bleeding from his mouth and his nose. And this brutal wound, he's going to like lash out at you with one final attempt. He will get a 17 and a 14. I think the 17 will hit you now because of the decreased armor.
The 17 does, the 14 doesn't, yeah.
Yes, okay. You'll take 4 piercing damage as he like lashes out clumsily, barely breathing himself. Ethelwulf is at the... Oh, he's also in the melee. So he's going to try and lash out at you, Scum. But misses both strikes unless your AC is a 14. Which
20.
Yeah, okay, no chance. So he like is trying to get at you, but you're moving quickly despite your injuries. Scum, it's your turn.
I'm going to take the dodge action. I'm going to second wind. And that's it. That's all I can do.
Okay.
And like probably dig my fingernails into my palm around my axe hilt because I think I'm going to die. So I want to go to Valhalla. I don't want hell to get hold of me after what I did to Orm.
Yeah. Okay, that's Scum. Snorri is on the gangway. He'll continue to take the dodge action. Havisla.
Havisla will stay back with Phelim's body. She is...
Hey,
continue
I'm
to
going to go
hold.
have a smoke.
As a free action, can Sigrid yell from the gangplank standing next to Sigrid, "Witch, use your damn magic!" Because she hasn't seen any magic yet. What the hell?
Ew, it's not battle magic. Okay, is there fire
Is there
around?
fire?
Are there torches? Campfire?
No, because you were like in the process of about to burn this ship, but like because it's so flammable, I think the torches would be far from the ship, you know?
I got a cantrip on here that's called Loki's Gift. What does that do?
Makes you good at lying.
Ah, it's not helpful. Okay, I'm gonna hold my action until I can read through some more of these cantrips.
Okay. Wagner, your turn.
Wagner is screaming on the ground because he has to eat a turn.
Fuck, man. Okay. Sigrid, your turn.
Sigrid is now up to the large wanderer, and she's just going to make. I imagine if he's in front of Snor, she would be near Snorri, so she'll make 2 attacks at disadvantage against him.
Go for it.
All right. Odin bless these dice. Maybe 17.
That'll do it.
All right. So that's going to be 12 slashing damage. And we'll go again.
It's actually enough to bloody in one go, so if you want to roll a d10 first.
Oh, certainly will. 5.
5. I don't know offhand. I think it's stunned. I'll check in a second, but yes, it's not good.
All right. So if they're stunned, would I have disadvantage?
I need to check now then. Don't have my Doom book anywhere.
All right. Let me reroll. So I got a 16. Will a 16 hit with disadvantage?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Then it's moot then. So 11 more slashing.
Okay, that'll kill him.
Okay. So she would just slam her shield against his, and as he kind of presses against it, he makes the mistake of looking up above it, and she just 2 brutal slashes down on his head, splitting his leathered capped helmet. But yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But she's gonna stay, and I'm gonna take an opportunity attack, as she will do what she can to try to get to
Nori?
because she probably sees that. Yeah, she probably sees Vagnar down and Scom getting battered. Can she make it with her movement?
Yes, you definitely can, but Nora will try and smack you on the way. He gets a 15.
15 will just graze across her leather coat.
Okay. That's a miss, right?
I hope so, yeah.
Yep. So he like slashes out, but he's like beset by Sigverker as he like tries to hold the place together, and you can rush past him towards where Vagnar and Scum are into the melee. You
So
can like push them aside and get there.
Big question. Can she stand in a way so she's within 5 feet of both of them? Or not? If not, tell me which one. Because she would prove, unfortunately, sorry, Rob, but she's probably going to protect Scum before she would protect Vagnar, though she wouldn't want to make it look that obvious that that's what she's doing.
I'm trying to picture it. I think that they're not
actually
directly...
no. You know something? I want to protect Vagnar first. If I see Vagnar down and these guys trying to butcher him on the ground,
okay, go for it. Yep, you can definitely get there. Okay, that was Sigrid. Guthrum is in the fight. He is going to think that Vagnar is taken care of, and he sees the shield maiden, and he just like grins with delight at the idea of killing this holier than thou fucking bitch, as he would say it. And he's going to attack you twice, but misses both strikes with a 11 and a 12. That was Guthrum. So he's like hacking at you, but you are able to like bring your shield up and hold against him. Nor is on the gangway. He's going to try and oh god, he's against Sigverker. He's probably going to piss his pants. But in the meantime, he's also going to try and attack you. Nope, he's going to dodge. That's what he's going to do. And Sigverker, your turn.
Okay, let's see if his dodge is any good for him. 19 on the first one.
That hits.
And I've still got the Choser of the Slain on, so 13 piercing damage.
Okay, that's going to kill him anyway, so yep. The end of the people on the gangway. So with the knife, you like find a weak point in his helmet and shove it into his eye, and he twitches and falls into the water with a splash.
What weapon did he have on him?
He had a hand axe.
I'm going to use my free action to pick that up then.
Sure. Okay, Sigverker. Lefnar is, let's see, he is going to try and finish off Vagnar as he's on the ground.
I'm going to call out laughing. It was me who murdered Hawk. He'll sing no more for you, craven dogs. It was me. I'll exult.
Inspiration. Yeah, he'll turn and like...
I've already got inspiration. So can I give it to someone else?
Yeah, give it to Vagnar. His eyes will widen at the thought that like Hauk was betrayed, and he'll like snarl and strike at you instead. And you dodged, didn't you?
That's right. I'll spit broken teeth and blood. I caved in his head, and while he ran, I stabbed him in the back and sent him down to greedy run, and she fucks him still.
You'll fucking pay, he says, but he misses his first attack. So to the second. So he's just like madly like slashing at you. But you're like ducking and dodging out of the way as you like insult him. Ethelwolf will turn to face you as well, Scum, enraged at the idea of you killing and betraying.
I have moved bloody eye, and I've seen your death, Lauthnir.
FMD, dodge, OP. So the two of them are like running at you and trying to get at you, and they're slashing. But you're like prepared, and you step back and are able to dodge their strikes. Scum, it's your turn. Scum.
I'm going to do more of the same. I'm going to dodge and continue hurling down insults at these guys. I've got blood down my face. I can't actually see them. So I'm lying and bullshitting, obviously. But I'll just like scream out with my good eye closed and just looking out with the bloody one through a curtain of blood, reciting the names of the pirates, recounting their death. And when I like feel in my like sword dance that's just in this bloody rage, like a clang of blades as I actually rebuff someone, I'll laugh all the harder and say, I hear him coming, the bear of the south, Sigverker, and I'll start going, whoo, big whoops as I jump about with the sword play. But mechanically, I'll stay stationary and dodge and try and live. My con save will be another fail, so that's another 2 con.
Yep. Okay, that was Scum. Snorri is dead. Havisla, you're on the ship still as your friends or your compatriots stand near death around you.
Visla takes the spears in both hands and follows Sigverker. And she will follow him into the fray, letting him draw their attention. And as one turns to strike at him, she'll thrust the spear, 19 to hit.
Yep.
5 damage.
Okay. It'll be Ethelwulf who's the furthest from the middle. Okay. So strike from Havisla as she enters into the fray. And Vagnar, your turn.
With Scum directing all of their attention to him, Vagnar rolls at disadvantage, but still gets a 21 on the and that's 21 damage.
Oh geez, yeah. Is this against Lofnar, I assume?
Yes, dude that got me before.
Gonna butcher him. So like maybe even from the ground, just like the Sayer comes up into the inner thigh, into the groin, and he'll bleed out in seconds.
Bonus action, can I try and roll into the crowd and hide?
Sure.
23 stealth.
Okay.
You can put a disadvantage on that if you want, as I'm fucked.
No, I think you're able to like do that sort of push yourself in your hands and legs backwards, and like as you do, like somebody steps in front of you and like headbutts one of the pirates in the melee, and they lose sight of you. Was Vagnar Sigurd?
Sigurd would look down where Vagnar was moments ago and see that he is gone. But she's quickly reminded that this brute is trying to kill her as Gunthrum, I believe, is the one that attacked her last round. So he slams his weapon against her shield, and she returns, and in turn, she returns her own axe strikes for a 20 and a 15.
Those will both hit.
Okay, so that's going to be 8, 12. 20 points of slashing damage against Gunthrum.
And that ends him. Tell me how.
It's just brutal. She's seething with rage for many reasons. And she's just blind. She almost, one might think she's channeling a little bit of Sigverker as she just butchers into this guy, cutting through the shaft of his axe, through his and into his chest. And then she would turn, kind of just breathing heavily, and then step towards Scum, and she will action surge and make 2 attacks against Ethelwulf, I believe.
Oh, I thought you were actually attacking me for a second there. I know I'm getting echoed.
What? You killed Feidhelm?
I did too. I was like, Jesus, clean it up.
Let's see. So that is in 19 for 8. And that would be a 23 for 6.
Okay, but he was still
So that's 14.
He got stabbed by a spear. That's going to kill him too. So you'll see as he's like pierced by the spear, he'll like wrap his hands as tightly as he can around his hand axe. As he sees you approach, and you like hack him down, you'll see like as he like reaches the ground, his like hands grip that axe as hard as they can before he like gives his last breath. It's much the same with the crew. Many of them have been killed by the pirates, who are probably better fighters than your crew from Ingvik. But nonetheless, with your actions, you'll see that turn quickly as like Sigverker gets among the the melee and just begins like hurling people around and like breaking necks. The two of you can step outside, away from the battle a little bit, Scum and Wagner. Well, it's cleaned up. It's not too long before the pirates are all slain, along with 6 of your crew. And yeah, there is a momentary quiet.
In that time, I assume I would have had to have made another con save. I've had 14, 14, 14, 1, and now 15. Does 15 stop the bleeding in the leg?
15 is the magic number, yeah.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. So I look really, really bad and covered in blood. I'll take the action too to wipe the blood from my face so I can see like just the grim work of the aftermath.
Sorry.
I was just going to say the body's steaming like the snow that begins to fall, like the steam of blood everywhere that you look. And like your own crew are like talking excitedly, like, what the fuck, why would they do that? Why would they attack? So disrespectful, like before a funeral, and all this sort of like talk among the sort of puritanical people of Ingvik, who do not think like these pirates or like you, it seems.
Seems bloodshed always follows a pyre in these lands. I'll think to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sigrid doesn't say anything, but she's thinking it. She's of the Iron Eye, and she sees this as an omen, an ill one. This is the gods letting them know that what they had planned to do was had no honor in it, and so they were punished, and now 6 of their crew lie dead. She doesn't say it, but you know, she looks it. She like is dour as she walks around, making sure each of these men held on to their weapon as they died so that they could find their way.
You have a pyre ready to go already with many of the dead. You can pile the new dead on top. Will you burn the pirates, or will you leave them here to rot like Uthil, your enemy, Kohlbrandr?
The pirates, we should give them to Ran, so that she won't be hungry when we go north to Bjorn's home. I'll work out finally that broken tooth out of like the back of my jaw and spit it down, and like wince as I like rip some ripped cloak around like the wound on my thigh to finally tourniquet the ulculating stream there.
Yeah, Sigrid would, upon hearing your words, she would say, yes, let the sea have them. They do not deserve. And
sorry, man, I didn't mean to interrupt. Oh, okay. So Wagner is just sat there with his back against something, his knee throbbing in agony, and he's just staring and doesn't say anything, and he doesn't move.
Many of the people from Ingvik are like clapping Sigvirker on the back, and Havisla, who like broke the fight, who like came and with their like holy arrival ended the struggle. So particularly to Sigvirker, they're like clapping him on the shoulder and much cheer.
Yeah, while there's the patting on the back, there's a crunch on the ground, and Sigvirker looks underfoot, and he sees some of the coin we gave to these traitorous men. Not that we weren't going to do the same. And he picks it up and he holds it out, which is kind of a signal that there's more of this coin. Go and gather it.
Yeah, they'll see to it to like gather the coin from the dead, or like where they had stashed it near the fire where they had been sitting.
Visla will help oversee the sending the pirates into the sea, removing anything useful from them as we might need, and finishing the work she'd begun with the pyre boat. She'll look at Scum. Go, how do you stand?
I'm
Truly,
fine, he lies. Wagner, he needs your help. He'll never ask for it, so I'll ask for it for him. His leg is bad. Another man, well, I would have hacked it off already. But I know you have. And he's going to say ways, but it like sends a shiver from like the top of his butt crack to the back of his brain, and he just goes quiet.
She kind of purses her lips together. You are certain I should not see to you?
Yeah, he just nods slowly and then goes to like pick up a coin that he's suddenly seen, and like maybe like for him, luckily for him, he has Sigverker's order to like pick up all of the bloody coins, and so he'll like use as an excuse to like move away from probably for him the most terrifying person on the ship. Oh, am I actually still dying even though I made my con save?
No,
Sorry,
not
just to
literally.
clarify. Okay,
No.
cool.
But you know what I mean? Like,
I was like, that's really ungrateful to look a gift horse in the No.
No, you'll recover.
I'll do
Like,
that.
but it's. I just said in the chat that I imagine you were so afraid of witches that you'd rather bleed to death than have them help you. Which I think
I was
is
like, I'm not that noble or that afraid that I'll die for it.
I think Sigrid would overhear Scum, and because she's in such a dark mood, she just says to Evisla, who is just one more disappointment for Sigrid because she used no magic to save the men that she could see. She would turn and say, "If you can help him, Evisla, help him."
I will do what I can. He will have to abide me for some time, though. It will take all night.
I don't even know if Sigrid even knows what your name is, but she says he fought bravely. Tend to him. Are you hiding, Wagner, or are you like, could someone find you if they were looking for you?
Yeah, at this point, he's like I say, he's just sat with his back to something, just staring off into space. He's just not moving. It's a bit despondent.
Yeah, and Sigurd would say, "I will go and find Wagner, and if he cannot on his own, I will bring him to you." And so, yeah, she would go off in search of Wagner to see how badly he was injured. He looked bad when last she saw him.
Yeah, I guess you can see the wound if you do find him, that like the knife went behind the top of the kneecap and like basically separated the kneecap from the rest of the leg, like cutting some of the tendons and like connective tissue there. It will require significant healing.
So seeing that, Sigrid would look at him and say, "I will help you if you will let me." And she would offer to like him to put his weight on her and bring him back to Evisla so that she could hopefully tend to that injury. But she won't even lie. It's bad. And so she doesn't even try to lie and tell him it's not as bad as it looks.
He just stares at her for a bit. And then he reaches up with a hand. And as you pull him up, you can hear, he sort of grumbles, "Dumb bitch," but sort of try to.
You would
like,
probably
hide
out of
the
the
West.
yeah. And out of the corner of your eye, you would probably see one of those rare smiles that Sigrid would ever have given you as you do that.
Scom's going to limp up, leaving a trail in the wet and gore-soaked sand with a handful of bloody coins. as many as he could find before he felt like he might fall over and vomit, and so he goes to hand them to Sigverka as he'd asked. And as he eyes the skeleton cloak, he'll ask Sigverka, like peering at him with like both mismatched eyes, any of those lords whose finger bones you wear, could any of them beat the Kohlbrandr?
No, no. I know the owner of every single bone. And that is not
So you
one
have
of them.
So you have a talent for picking lords, then?
I have a talent for picking stories.
And how do you think this story might end?
This is an unusual story.
What? He says with like any look of like comedy on his face around at the gore stained shore, and then back to him, and then crack like a grim, like cruel, almost like apple peel of a smile.
All I can tell you is I know when someone has a story to tell. How that story ends, that's up to the gods. So I just go where I'm needed. And I don't think Feidhelm's story's over just yet. And yours, it seems, has just begun.
End nearly ended, he says, like gesturing down through his bloody clothes to his thigh wound, and then like moving up to wipe more like blood spilling from his forehead gash.
Yeah, seeing that, he'll probably put an arm around you and start motioning you back towards the ship, giving you a helping hand.
So obviously you can pile the rest of the dead onto the sacrificial ship and preside over those bodies and set the fires and set the ship off on its course as you say goodbye to Karl Feidhelm and the very many valiant dead that are with him now, members of your crew that fell fighting pirates and reavers. There's a little bit of snow that falls as you like watch the ship sail away aflame.
As the flames take it, she says with loud enough for all to hear, "Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother and my sisters and my brothers. Lo, there do I see the line of my people back to the beginning. Lo, do they call to me. They bid me take my place among them in the halls of Valhalla, where the brave may live forever."
I would imagine as you start that Hivisla, you get the first line out, and then slowly others start to join the refrain, as Sigrid would as well, and we would get louder and gather strength.
Scom joins in the familiar refrain, though the words every time he's spoken or heard them are hollow. As an orphan with no family, he sees nothing, back to nothing, and it scares him nearly as much as the witch.
Ragnar spits.
When Wisla turns her eyes from the fiery boat, she turns them to Ragnar. "Would you take my aid if I offered it?"
Are you hurt, Seda? In the battle, I didn't quite see you.
"Certainly not as injured as you are."
He looks down and he realizes he's actually shaking. The snow sort of forming on him as he can't really move. He just gives a nod.
It will take all night. It will not be pleasant.
Well, I'm not pissing going anywhere, am I?
Very well. And she'll kind of clear a space on the shore with clean sand and the little bit of snowfall. And she'll bid Vagnar to lie down there. And she'll begin washing him. And it's silent, except for the muttered prayers to Odin as she begins wiping the blood off him with this bowl of water. It's got herbs in it, and they smell strong, almost bitter. And then she takes her spear. She says, "This will hurt." And she cuts into your thigh just above the knee. And you notice the blood that comes out of it is black and thick. And she continues singing and chanting, and every hour she presses down on that wound and more thick black blood comes out. And as dawn comes, she takes a needle, an awl really, and a bit of thread and begins to sew it up. And you notice when you look down that your knee is far better and you have regained the use of it.
I think during that, Vagnar would have probably called you every name under the sun, many of which I will not utter here. But towards the end, he sort of looks you and he makes a point of looking at you right in the eyes and he says, "I'm sure you enjoyed that, witch."
You notice that she's pale and sweaty and tired. And she just looks at you and goes, "You are welcome."
I think as you're about to go, he grabs your wrist. And it would probably make you jump reflexively. And he says, "You are unharmed."
Largely, yes. There's nothing that a bit of time will not heal.
He lets go and slumps back. And probably sleeps.
Yeah, as he sleeps, I guess he would look a few times, maybe Sigrid, and you would see that there's like this raven perched above him that will like kind of flutter there back and forth. It will like land next to Sigvirker and like look at him expectantly. It will like turn its head like to the side and then to the other side, looking at Sigvirker, waiting.
Is Check's muted again? Then talking.
Yes, I was. Sigvirker is going to approach the raven slowly as it calls at him, and he's going to kind of mimic its head motion, watching it.
You see, like, some of the crew are like watching like this weird exchange where the raven's like on the ground in front of you. He seems to be like calling at you over and over again.
Yeah, he'll sit down cross-legged in front of it and put his hand down for the raven to hop on, and hold it up. And as he does so, he'll even bring out the finger pouch. He'll put one hand around it.
Yeah, it will jump on and like sort of peck at the finger pouch.
Scom's going to grab his crotch probably too hard with one hand and his Thor hammer around his neck tighter with the other.
Fumbling and opening the pouch, he digs in the soil that he's got within there and brings the finger bone out, holding it in front of the raven, still mimicking its head motions back to it.
It will like look back and forth, and then it'll like peck some of the flesh on the finger bone, like pull it like these like long strands of sort of sinewy flesh from what's left of the bone, and then we'll like eagerly eat them, and then we'll look at you and like sort of nod its head.
Sigrid, seeing this from a distance, would just kind of just hunker down herself, and anyone near her would hear her say quietly, almost in an inaudible whisper, she would say, "It's a sign from the Our Father." But what she can't figure out is it an omen of weal or woe? So she watches intently to try to see if there's any more, or that she can glean from it.
Stays there in your hand, Sigricker, for a while, cawing at you until it'll like flutter to like land over Wagner again and like look down. It'll caw 3 times and then we'll fly up into the sky and away.
Wagner will finally let out a breath and kind of look to some of the grim reavers either side of him, and then up to Sigverka, like trying to get their gaze to go on him, and mumble to the one next to him, "He's favored by Odin."
There's a great many of the crew just have their like mouths hanging open, like they're not sure what just happened.
Yeah, Sigrid would be the first, I think, to move, seeing portent in many things. Superstitious are her people. She goes over and sits down in front of Sigverka, and she looks at him and she says, "Can you talk to the gods? Is that what you can do?"
You can see him watching the flight of this raven as it flies off in the distance. And when his face does come back to kind of face you, you can see his eyes are almost like they're looking through you. And he slowly stands to his feet, tucks the finger back into the pouch, and moves to Hvisla. Takes her hand, uncurls the fingers on her hand, snaps the leather binding on the pouch around his neck, and places it in her hand, and puts his around hers to clasp it. And all the time his eyes are still unfocused.
Sigverka, why do you give me this? She looks at his unfocused eyes and feels the grip of his hand on hers, and it forces herself not to pull away, as he's clearly under some sort of a trance, perhaps something given to him by the Allfather.
It's a blessing, one of the crew says. It's a blessing, it has to be. The Karl, he sits in Valhall.
Hi, a blessing, Scom will say to another man and try and in that tone that kind of makes the other person that's like hearing it like agree, like by the way that you like say it to them, and get them to say it as well. I don't know if he believes it. He thinks the gods are very capricious, and Feidhelm, I don't like think openly, but definitely he would have known that he was like of the Torn and perhaps not so like fervent as we of the Aesir. So
Yeah,
don't know if he actually sits in Valhalla or if there's a blessing or not, but he's definitely going to say it because men who think they're blessed fight better than ones who think they're cursed. Except for Wagner.
Yeah, there's like a general sort of murmur of like a blessing. Yes, a blessing. A sign from the Allfather. And people will like say a bunch of things that like are unnecessary. The raven, that's a symbol from the Allfather, like explaining it to themselves so that they can say something to try and parse what happened.
It means that Rana is pleased, Scom will lie. The gifts that we gave her, that we offered up, and then the way we treated Karl Feidhelm and the glorious dead, Odin smiles. Of course it's a blessing. It means our passage north is marked by the gods. It means that success and glory will be ours, and the scourge that did this, he'll point to the ruins, will be wiped away, consumed in its own fires. Yes, says Scom, trying to like bolster the men around him. This like zealous propaganda.
Yeah, they'll begin sort of shouting with you excitedly, and some of them will start chanting or like just shouting intermittently, "Oh, Father, Odin!"
No longer reavers, no longer peasants. We're warriors of the gods, marked by them. Each man a hostile of Odin. And he'll just like play it up in the absence of like some other religious figure speaking.
Yeah, with Sigverker's hand on Hephaestus, he's going to lead her out. And this Scom's speech finishes to the rattle. Sigverker's going to, still holding the hand and the finger bone, he's going to say, I saw a man with a heart of flame, bright with cunning, courage and grit, a heart that kindled in all men the same, to bathe the ice and fire, ember lit. I saw a man with a vision and call to storm, to topple ships with soaring force, to be the swell that sails set on, as others follow rising with thunder roar. I saw a man who braved blizzards of spears, hurled forever into his path, and though the winter sun has set on his years, his spirit has instilled a wrath. So welcome then to the hall, wise one, be met with blade and feast and mead and ardour. Long live the name and tale of Feidhelm, who now warms by the Allfather's hearth fire.
There's silence, and Wisla finds her breathing ragged with the emotion that this song, this poem, brings to her heart. She turns away that no one might see a tear. It's not proper for a witch to cry.
We have the blessing on our side. We should go see our home again. One of the men says as he like follows his gaze, kind of like follows the burning ship as it goes further and further out to shore.
Sigrid says nothing as the crewman says that, but she nods in agreement. She misses her homeland. She misses the farm that she left to go on this journey with the Karl. She wishes once again to see that land before maybe she leaves this mortal life and joins the others in Valhalla.
Well, they're not going to command themselves, so somebody has to make a decision on what you want to do and where you want to go.
Yeah, so I think Sigrid would be bolstered by that, and she would begin to yell orders, getting the ship ready, even though it's probably the early of evening, and it's dusk, or dawn, no, dusk, and so yeah, even though they are tired. Dawn. Oh wait, actually, we went through the night, right?
Yeah, because I had to spend all night doing that.
Perfect. So dawn, yeah, we would ride. We'd ride.
Ride the seahorse.
Ride the sea. We will ride the sea. No. So she would do that. She would be bolstered by the event of the morning. And that would give her new confidence. So.
And so will you sail for Bjornsholm, the castle? Or will you sail back around south?
Or Evik is where we go to.
Okay.
That's what Sigurd would say. Feidhelm is dead and gone. His plan was to go there. Our path does not lie that way. It lies in Evik.
However, Ogvai was told to go to Bjornsholm.
That's right.
And how many days do we have? Like, because he was a few days behind us, right?
He'd be a week behind you.
So, question: what's the likeliness that Ogvai would his deal would end? Wouldn't Sigurd know that his oath to Feidhelm ended with his death?
He wouldn't know of that for starters.
He doesn't know he's dead, yeah.
Oh, so we could pretend like Feidhelm is still around.
He's also been paid money.
Like Jackson's going to get the puppet strings and from behind murmur out his voice.
If that's the case, then I thought last session that we had decided that that Ogvik, that he would turn and leave. So if there's a chance, then yeah, we would still go north.
He's also been paid, Ogvai has, and has sworn an oath to do the thing. That thing is not to defend your lands; it's to attack Kohlbrandr's. It's quite specific.
Perfect. So that's what it will be then.
But he's going to go to Bjornsholm, and if nobody's there to greet him, that's going to be awkward. So I don't know if you. I mean, it's up to you guys what you want to do, but Ogvai and his men will land there.
I think knowing that Sigrid would say Bjornsholm, but obviously others would be able to put their voices to that decision.
Visla would catch Sigrid's eye and just nod her assent of that decision.
And so you sail along the northern coast of the spit of land that is the Carldom of once Feidhelm, once Ingvar the Old, now a big question mark hangs over that. And you can sail along that coast. You will see that every settlement you pass along the coast has been similarly brutalized. Everything has been burnt. Everything has been taken. And in each village, as you can kind of see as you kind of skirt the coast, you will see a similar blood eagling of whoever was in charge of that village. Devastation reigns across this coast. But as you approach Bjornsholm itself, you can see that there has been significant work in your absence. The old tower, stone, has been mostly rebuilt. And there's a palisade that runs sort of, and wooden spikes and ditches dug and things like that to prepare this place for some sort of attack. You can see that there are warriors there, and they see you, and a horn is sounded, but then they can recognize the heraldry of Karl Feidhelm. And will allow you to land here to make. You have to pull up on the beach. Basically, there's not a dock here, so you can shove the longboat onto the beach, and yeah, you can arrive. Arnvid is here. He looks haggard and exhausted. He's got big black bags under his eyes. Looks like he hasn't eaten well, and yeah, he's been through a lot. And he will smile gratefully as you return, and then his eyes will search and see no Karl, and he'll ask, Where is Karl?
Sigrid would step forward, and she would say, in no uncertain terms, he fell in battle as we traveled north.
Fuck, why do you piss on me, Odin? We do not need this. Things have not gone well in your absence.
Sigrid would nod. We saw the villages on the way.
Feidhelm succeeded. He's raised a mighty host. They will come here to Bjornsholm, and we will go north to destroy the Reaver King. He gave his life to destroy Orm Thalgnaga, and now we ride his seahorse into battle. See how grand she is. Odin does not piss, he blesses us.
Sigurd would nod vigorously, and she would say, "It is true. We saw the signs. We have with us one who can talk to the gods," and she points to the large man with the finger bone cape, Sigverker.
He shakes his head. Come inside. I will tell you what has happened. He leads you into the tower, out of the snow, and it's warmer in here. You'll see the forces arrayed here, 15 men, of which many are very young, and one of whom is far too old to be here. They stand as ready as they can in your presence. For a second, they see there's no Karl, and they sit back down. You can see through one of the windows here as you look out northwards that there's 5 horsemen there. They're standing around a camp. And Arnvid will tell you they're Uthil's men. They have been there for weeks. They stand there, and when something happens, they go to him. They give insult every day. They have reaved the coast. Everything is destroyed. We have called all of the villages back to Ingvik, and we have piled them in there as best that we can, but we cannot feed them all. I have been here for over a week trying to protect this place and ensure nothing comes, but I cannot protect the whole coast from here. I've sent word to the Jarl and to the other Karldoms, although I've heard nothing.
Food is perhaps the most pressing matter for those in Ingvik and for those here as well. We have some supplies, but certainly not enough for all of them. That will take some thought. These riders, do they attack you?
No. They stand there and they give insult and they taunt us every fucking day.
Well, now Uthil will know that we killed his man Orm, and that we have his ship, that crew's dead, and that Bjornsholm is reinforced. So we don't have time to solve the food problem, says Scom coldly.
If we were determined and we had arms, we could maybe muster 100, maybe more, to fight. They are not warriors.
We may need every man, but for now, Ogvai's bastards are on their way. That does not leave this tower.
He nods.
None of your men can know lest they're captured by the enemy and this reported. Perhaps if he...
Oh.
Oh, no.
No.
He'll be back.
Oh, we lost him.
Perhaps if we...
Talk about a cliffhanger.
Yeah. This might be a good place to take a quick break. A final break before we finish up relatively soon. So we'll call it 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we're just going to take a quick break because we thought you had liked it. Or like disconnected. All good. We'll be back in like 5.
Cool.
I'm back. Imagine you were Arnvid and you were hoping so badly that like the crowd would come back with help, and then what returns is a crew of 15 or so.
I know. I mean, I think we came back with less than we left with.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Minus the Karl.
Yep.
On top of it all. Yeah.
But the other guys are coming in a week.
Yep.
Yeah. But what's coming? A Jotun-knight and his 50 bastards.
Yep. I would not like to be from Ingvik. Not an ideal place to live.
Nope, and the smart move would have probably been to side with Uthil and
Yep.
get protection, but then we wouldn't have any interesting campaign to play.
So the thing with the horses is, like, you guys don't have any horses, which is why they're able to hassle Arnvid, because every time he like goes, they just get in their horses and ride away, and he cannot outrun them. So that's been like the issue that he's faced.
They don't have a Wagner who can sneak up and do something
Right.
nefarious, I'm sure.
But he's not going to kill all 5 of them before one of them gets away.
We can try.
He doesn't have to kill them, he just has to kill the horses.
He's not going to kill 5 horses before they realize what's happening,
Yeah.
Yeah, my name isn't Lloyd Collins. I don't kill horses for fun.
I kill horses for fun too. So I get tossed.
It's not my fault that all 5 of those guys named their horses.
Yeah.
We might be able to kill all those horses if you bring Scum along.
Okay, I think we're all back. You were going to say something, Scum, and then you dropped in the middle of the sentence. Do you remember what it was, or?
Just that we should keep it quiet about Feidhelm and Ogvai's bastards, that they're coming, so that a man can't be taken and then tortured for information. And Uthil knows more than he already does, which is really against our favor. And if that was suggested to sneak out and disable his scouts, I would recommend we don't do that. That we use them against him to misdirect, rather than just let him know that we've killed 5 of his men. He'll just send more. He presumably has more than 5 horses if he can afford to have 5 scouts here. But happy to hear other ideas of what we can do to try and buy us some time.
We've been waiting for word from the other Karls and the Jarl, although none has come as of yet.
Question, Lloyd. The helmet that Feidhelm wore, did it conceal the wearer's face, or was it open? Did it have a nasal that came down and would cover cheekbones?
It's like a spectacle helm, yeah.
Because Sigrid has an idea. She looks at Scum and she thinks, not an exact likeness, but he's basically roughly the same build of Feidhelm. So she would present that we would dress Scum to appear as Feidhelm, to fool those who might see.
I don't look like him. Don't have his beard.
No, that's okay, because we would fashion something that it only needs to be. And she would say that when challenged, she would say it only needs to be seen from a distance. The ruse would be over once they were close enough. But they need to see Feidhelm or his likeness.
That's assuming you didn't give the
you would have burnt him in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You would have burnt the helmet.
Shit, that's true.
His gear, because he needs it in the afterlife. So that's
that's
I'm
true.
assuming you guys would have burnt all that stuff with him.
Yep, you're right. We would have wanted to give him his best to send off as possible. Shit, because I was going to have you stand up.
No one knows Feidhelm's gone. As far as the enemy's concerned, he's alive. I think that's good enough for now. Perhaps and he doesn't have a red eye if they sneak in and see me dressed as him without us even knowing. Just because Arnvid says there's 5 spies out there doesn't mean there's not a spy in here.
So if there's a spy in here, then we're already lost, because they would have not seen Feidhelm at all on the ship.
He could still be on the ship or in here.
Perhaps there is a way that we can deliver the information that we want Kohlbrandr to know. If we were to give false information to one of the weaker of our numbers, one we can afford to lose, and send him forth.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
Right? No, go ahead.
The minute Sigrid hears that plan, the voices that she had not heard for many days return and murmur through her mind that you are an oathbreaker and a betrayer. And she immediately stands in opposition to that plan. We will not throw a man as fodder. We must come up with a better plan. Though, honestly, Lionel thinks that was a really good plan, but Sigrid would never sign off on that.
Do you have better thoughts? If so, now is the time.
And that's probably what stops her.
We should ask the gods. Says Scum, and then looks at the 2 godsworn.
Sigverka, what does Odin say? What of Thor and Tyr?
If the gods wish to speak, they would do so. They have not spoken to me of this. Although if you are concerned about perhaps sending someone to their doom, what if someone volunteered?
They would be volunteering for torture, inglorious death, and consignment to hell.
Maybe.
They'd also have to not know the truth of the matter. They would need to believe the information that they hold.
All right, Sigrid's not going to say this, but Lionel's going to say this. We could tell that person that they have to ride quickly to. Can't you cross the land? Send them as a messenger to Igvik, and we could plant on them the wrong information. Really sell it to them that they have to get there and they can't get caught, knowing unfortunately they're going to get caught. Sigrid would never sign off on that plan, but I think that's a really good idea. I mean, it feels really dirty, but I mean, we really don't have a lot of options.
Who would volunteer for such a mission?
A brave man that would want to help his lands and peoples.
And send word home.
You said that there were young boys here, right?
Yes.
Boys are foolish and full with too much hubris and bravery. We'd probably get several that would agree to it. We're not telling them you're going to die.
But what are we going to tell them? What mission, what misdirective information we're going to give them that we hope that they get tortured or captured for?
We would lie about the number of men that are coming here and to I think I'm saying the town wrong. Ingvik. Okay. So we would say that men are going to Ingvik to bolster the defenses there, and men are coming here, and then we're going to kind of do this move northward once.
That's the truth. That is what we're going to do.
Yes, but the number of men might force him to maybe make a mistake. I don't know.
It would send more men our way, though, wouldn't he? My suggestion would be that we send information, or the information that he receives is that we're coming from a different direction, basically. Something to make his forces divide.
Or maybe something that makes us seem weaker. That would, because we want us to be the target, right?
We already seem weak. I feel in my gut that Uthil's just waiting for Feidhelm to come back so he can come and there's no point wrecking your enemy if they're not there to see you do it. I think that he's just waiting. And when one of those scouts rides off tonight back to Uthil, he'll be like, good, the turd is back. I want to kill him. So provoking him to act quickly, I don't think he's going to act any more quicker than he already is. And if we can have Ogvai's bastards arrive while he's marching towards us rather than held up in his holdfast or raiding our coast, then that's on our terrain. That favors us. The sea favors him. And if we wait for him in Ingvik, if we do end up to go down there, then he'll just ravage all of the lands and leave Ingvik last.
Yeah, we definitely want to come in here.
The coast.
Oh, so how about a messenger that says that that Feidhelm has arrived? And he is here at Bjorn's and that would then, so it would kind of tie in with what you're saying, Nico, that's where he'd want to come to then butcher Feidhelm and whatnot.
Yeah, I like that, but the thing is, who's going to draw the short story and pick the unfortunate to go?
Also, convincing someone to lie in this culture is not easy because lying is a pretty heavy crime. So they would have to actually think that Feidhelm is here,
But they do. We're the only ones
No one
that...
in our ship does.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, right. So, but they do. So the man that we would be sending wouldn't. So Vagnar would be the one to write the note, right? Because he doesn't feel quite as compelled to the same...
He doesn't know how to write, though.
Oh, shit, that's right.
I think out of all of you, it would just be Havisla who can actually write.
So yeah, because Sigrid does not know how to write, and she would never write it anyways. But wait, she's a witch. Of course, she'd write it, right?
She's a witch of Odin.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Ask Havisla what she thinks about this plan.
That was just uncalled.
She's shaking her head and goes, "The dishonesty sits ill with me. Karl Feidhelm was a good and honorable man.
Mm.
He was pragmatic and skilled in war too.
Yeah. That's the problem where there's so many honor would prevent us from doing something like that. Oh, well, Vagnar can tell the brave man that rides. It would be because I would imagine most messages would be orally anyways,
Yes.
not written. So Vagnar would tell the lucky lad that drew the straw. But I don't
And
know.
that's on the
Rob,
proviso that this person does actually get caught and does actually get hauled back. He might just make it, and then
could you
we've
imagine?
convoluted the soup.
Yes, I love it.
I don't. It's not watertight enough for the risk of murdering someone, essentially, consigning them to torture. Most likely, it would have to be watertight and to a great advantage to us for SCOM to agree.
And I don't think, and this is me talking, I don't think personally we have enough information about Kohlbrandra's forces, where he is, what he plans on doing for us to be able to.
Yeah.
For all we know, his
the
main host could be just over the ridge.
Right.
And really, we're relying on Ogvai's bastards, so we need to wait. So we could just make the best of waiting.
We'll make a better defense if he comes for us, but it seems unlikely.
Relieve the tired and exhausted men, like shuffle them through a rotation, rest ourselves because we're all like absolutely rat-shitted.
But how do we keep it so that the men on our ship don't tell the men here of Feidhelm's fate?
I feel like that's already happening.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, you're probably right.
And I mean, when he didn't come in with us, they would have noticed.
Yeah, I don't know if the riders would have noticed, but definitely, the garrison.
Ironbeats shouted about it, the garrison
Yeah,
here for
imagine
sure.
terrified peasants outside just being like, "Oh fuck, the god's pissed."
The best thing we can do is ensure that this thing happens quickly, a new leader is established, so this rising hero can emerge to lead our forces.
We cannot.
Yeah,
Jarl
and Karl. The Jarl and Karls won't come to fight Uthil, but they might come for a thing, and then when we're at the thing, can be compelled by shame to join in the efforts that Feidhelm laid down to finally vanquish Uthil. That might bring them. Might not. Uthil might even have just said to these guys, "Don't intervene, or I'll destroy all of you as well." And they're like, "Yep, sure, no worries." Some of them could even be spies for him, like Rob said, we know so little that making a big one-shot plan, like a killing shot plan, it's too out of our reach. So we don't have enough of the knowledge.
So are you going to stay here and kind of rest? And the thing would have to happen in Ingvik is the thing.
Bring the Jarl and the Karls up.
Yeah.
And if they don't show, then the Ingvik gets to elect its own Jarl, and they have no say in it. So maybe that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if SCOM would know all that political stuff, actually. But as a player, problem solving, that's what I offer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, God, Hangouts is in a pissy mood. So what has we decided?
I think you're going to wait and rest and call a thing. And during the rest, I guess you can see to the defenses here and stuff and rest some of the men. Aren't we able to ask if you want him if you want him to call the peasants and muster them and give them spears, take them from their farms, which are already kind of abandoned to some extent, and form them into whatever units you can muster? That's a matter that will take at least a week to do.
I say no, but I'm happy to hear for an argument for yes. I think if things go bad and we have 100 peasants armed and they just die, we've just killed productive work, people that Ingvik needs to rebuild.
Yeah, Havisla would recommend that anyone who can still possibly farm do so. We need people to keep the livestock alive.
Plus, it would probably force Ugvai. Oh, no, not Ugvai's hand, but crap.
Uthil.
Space. Uthil's hand before we have our Ugvai here. So, yeah, I think it's better just to look like we're not panicking and not sweating it, I guess.
Okay.
Do we know how Uthil is feeding his men? Like, obviously they're reavers and they take, but is there any way that perhaps we could disrupt his supply at all? Is there anything we could do to hamper him whilst we remain here?
You, because you're from Isculfin and you're from his place, you can make me a check. If you have lore-wise, that would be the ideal one.
I'm not sure if I do, but I mean, I am Isculfin. Maybe I'd have I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you do, okay, you can just make a straight intelligence check.
Okay, I'm pretty intelligent. That is a 17.
Okay, so you would know that Uthil has a great many reaving crews that pay him tribute, even if he doesn't directly command them, because he's a Jarl. That means all of the Karls under him and all of the reaving captains under them all pay him a percentage, basically. And so that's how he's able to feed and clothe and arm all those people. And you can, like, you know that he's taken everything from the northern half of the province that you watch over, at the very least. Never mind the fact that you like saw some of his crews in different parts of the world as you kind of were traveling. So it's from reaving. It's too cold in the Painted Cliffs and where Uthil is from to like feed people normally. So it's all from reaving and raiding and trade.
Just trying to think of anything else we can do just to buy us time or to... it's tricky.
The day will go by as you kind of like sit in the tower and wait and like try to rest yourselves. And there'll be a sighting of people coming, a small troop of people bearing the Jarl's colours. And they'll make their way into the tower. Raffenkel leads them, and he will like sit and expect food and drink and whatnot, and he'll sit, and he will say, "It's not a good position that you are in. The Jarl cannot send warriors.
It is his duty by oath to those beneath him to provide protection for what they offer up at the autumn blot."
True. It is his duty to protect those beneath him, and he is doing that in the best way that he knows how. He has arranged a meeting with the Jarl of the Painted Cliffs. He is a reasonable man, Jarl Uthil, can be reasoned with, and
Go and look on the coast of Ingvik and see Uthil's reason there.
Silence.
Yeah.
Daddy shivers.
But it probably is more scary coming from you, Hivisla, but Sigurd would say the same thing.
this needs to be stopped before more people are butchered. It is not within the Jarl's power to stand against Uthil Kohlbrandr. He needs to ensure that this murder and butchery stops.
When is the meeting?
A week from today.
It will be too late.
Kohlbrandr is this Skolfin. He takes and he takes and he takes. This meeting won't change anything. He has the upper hand, and he knows this. He will push for unreasonable terms. And even if they're given to him next season, he'll want more again. This won't stop.
Brackenfell is right. If we keep fighting with Uthil, there'll be no people left to populate Ingvik. We'll all be corpses like those we found at Adelega. We should meet with him and accept his terms. And while he's saying this, He's like trying to look every one of us from in the tower earlier, previous to these guards, to be like, they don't know about Ogvai's bastards. We do. If he's down here in the south, we cut the neck at Bjorn's home and have him trapped and can kill him on the land. But I'm saying it like my soul's broken and I've seen way too many men die on the Rada Drauga.
Where's the
And
meeting
like adding to the
take
fear.
place?
Too many people speaking at once. Sorry, what did you say?
Where's the meeting to take place?
There's a stretch of land between Bjorn's home and where Karl's land or the Jarl's lands begin. Where is Karl Feidhelm?
Killed in battle by Uthil's men.
You see him like put his hand over his face and rub. One of Uthil's demands was an apology from the Karl for the dishonor done to him at the burial, the pyre, the old Karl.
Sigurd would chime in and say, he has made that amends with his life. He was slain by one of the Jarl's men. Certainly he would see that. And her wheels are spinning and she's thinking Scoms. She kind of sees what Scom said, and at first she thought it was cowardice, but then she sees the guile behind his words, knowing what we know. So she would kind of want to drive that home and say, even though the Karl has fallen, perhaps we can still treat with the Jarl and soothe his temper.
Who
Give
among
him
you has
tribute.
position to treat with Jarl Kohlbrandr? Not this oathbreaker.
None of us.
None of you.
It cannot be with our oaths that he is bound to parley. It'll have to be some other representative since Feidhelm is slaughtered.
Yes, there'll have to be a thing. We have no time.
Unfortunately.
Did not our Jarl send you north to us? Are you not his representative?
I
Well, if he will not come himself, then you are the one. Are you not?
am not Karl nor Jarl. I'm a warrior, soldier. It's not my position to bargain with Uthil Kohlbrandr. It should be the Jarl meets with him. That is the idea. But you need a representative there, for it is you who will bear the brunt of the fucking, to put it bluntly.
Sigrid steps another step forward, and she regrets what she's going to say, but she says it anyways. Well, then it should be me. It is my fault that the Karl has fallen. I was not near him where I should have been to protect him. I should be the one that bears the brunt of the Jarl's angst. And as such, I should be the one that speaks.
It would only work if you were Karl of this place. And he looks around him for a moment at like the state of this area, and obviously what he thinks about the entirety of like the Ingvik province. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a scholar, lawyer. I just do what the Jarl bids me.
Well, our Jarl controls this Kaldum. He himself or one of his representatives must speak to Uthil, and a thing must be called, as you say.
Yeah.
What else can we do from here? He means that as in like from this tower where we all are at the moment in the meeting, not like rhetorically like, oh, what can we do from here?
Lloyd, would I know of any kind of like emergency provision where someone could be appointed to power in cases where a thing can't be calmed.
I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, I guess it probably happens all the time. When people die, like in war times or whatever.
Isn't it the wife? I think the wife of the Jarl is like the emergency
Yes.
leader until a new thing is called.
Yep.
She doesn't even know that she is that yet, though.
No.
Oh boy.
Shot not.
So that's what Hrathicel would say. He would like report that, you know, it would be Feidhelm's wife, who would be Karl.
Then it must be her who meets with Uthil.
There's a look that goes over his face, which is like, we're already going to get fucked in this negotiation when it was going to be Feidhelm, and now we're going to send his wife.
That is the law. That is what separates us from those who live beyond the white line, is it not?
It is.
I will go with her, advise her as I did her husband.
She'll need it, I assume. Right. Well, the Jarl is coming, though more slowly. Because he has to be there. The Karls are less enthused, though. Bjornsson comes under duress that the others, they both report that they have their own things to deal with at home.
They would see Uthil take over Ingvik.
They are
Become
far
their
from
neighbor.
Ingvik. They are far south, further south even than the Jarl's lands.
And truly, what is Ingvik to lose to the Jarl? The place is near destroyed. Ingvik, the only stronghold, the great fortress of Bjornsholm, is moss gathered, and will not stop the tides of Uthil's men. Maybe the southern Karls are happy to sue for peace and give what is useless now to them.
There are villages in Karl Mogerson's Karldom that produce more than Ingvik. Not even the capital.
Scum speaks true. We fight over frozen stone. Good men and women die. We can see the tide before us. A wise man does not stand against the wave just to be pushed over time and time again. And she would look at Scum and give him a firm nod. She's impressed by this Reaver, this one who stands bloodied in battle, but also wise in counsel.
Then the meeting will take place. And when we're arrayed, we can bend over and spread cheek for Uthil. He'll like nod.
I suggest you do not tell the new Karl that.
She does not know that she is a sacrificial lamb.
That is the best way for the lamb to be. I'll say as if I'm ruining it.
True. A week then. I'll make the preparations. And he'll just like nod and unceremoniously like leave the room, not even goodbyes or handshakes. Yeah, you're left with that bombshell of a peaceful meeting, of a really what you would imagine is going to be a just full-on theft of the province of Ingvik. But we shall see what happens with that next time in Saga. Thanks very much, guys. If you're watching this and you haven't already, there's Kickstarter, which I've linked below for Iskloft, which is this setting that we just played in. We've like smashed like 8 stretch goals, something like that at this stage. So if you're interested, check that out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.